In this video, I'll break down 8 music video effects in Final Cut Pro 10. So you can see here are a whole bunch of different music video effects that I'll be going over in this video. So these are a whole bunch of free plugins, built-in effects, or just different things that you can use inside of Final Cut Pro 10. Some of these are going to cost money, while some of these are completely free. So go ahead, keep watching the video and see if you enjoy any of these really cool visual effects. The first one I'll go over is this really cool morph cut inside of Final Cut Pro 10. So if I play these 2 clips, as you can see, they're just basic jump cuts, and by all means, they're still really cool. But if you have this really cool kind of like morph transition, the 2 cuts kind of like morph together. Now it's not actually called the morph transition, it's actually called the flow transition. So if I head over here to the transitions tab, I'll go ahead and just type in flow. As you can see right here, the flow transition, just drag the flow transition right in between the 2 clips. I believe it's called like the morph cut in Premiere Pro, but in Final Cut it's just called the flow transition. So if I play it right here, as you can see, it just morphs into the next clip. So it's a really cool and seamless transition. Now this works well if there's like drastic movement, or the subject is moving towards the camera, because you can see the first shot is them sitting on the couch, the next shot is them standing. You want to have pretty drastic movement, so either have the person walk towards the camera, walk like across the room. You want some sort of drastic movement, or else the morph cut is not going to look as good. So make sure, now it's not going to apply to every single clip, but make sure there's pretty drastic movement between the 2 clips, or else the morph cut just won't look that good. Next one I'll go over is this really cool match cut right here. Now unfortunately, like 98% of it is how you shoot the video, and it doesn't really have to do much with editing, but I'll go over one little tip. Basically, a match cut is you're matching the action of something. So this could be an object, a subject, a car, whatever you're trying to match. In this case, basically just matching the subject right here. So the subject stays in the same place while the background changes. So when you have you put a cup down, you have a shot where a cup is on a table, and the next shot the cup is in the same position but somebody's holding the cup. Basically, you're just matching the action. So in this case, you're just matching the subject, so something stays the same in both shots. So an example here, this subject stays in the same spot. Something has to stay in the same spot versus when you switch different clips, and usually it's just something stays in the same place, and just the background changes. Now another thing you might want to do too when you're editing is you might want to reposition it. So if I take the clip right here, I can just place this right on top, and what you want to do is you want to turn down the opacity, and then take the position and just try to reposition it, scale it up right here. Now unfortunately it doesn't work in this instance because this is shot perfectly and it's already edited, but that basically is how you would do it. You basically turn down the opacity and just adjust it. Again, most of it is going to depend on how you actually shoot the video, but you're definitely going to have to adjust it because you can't be perfect when you shoot your video. Next effect I want to go over is this really cool kind of cartoonish kind of like drawing effect right here. So you can see right here, this is what the effect looks like. Now unfortunately, you can't achieve this in Final Cut Pro 10. You're going to have to use a third-party app. You can use maybe like Procreate or your Notes app on your phone. Basically, you need an app that has a drawing feature. Unfortunately, Final Cut doesn't really have that feature. So what I'm going to use, I'm basically using Pixelmator Pro. So you can see right here, I'm just going to open up Pixelmator Pro right here. So I'll wait for the program to open. So as you can see right here, this is what it looks like right here. Oh, here's the one that I worked on. So what you want to do is you want to just click on create a new background or create a new project. We're just going to create a new project, and I'm just going to do a very simple explanation of what I did. So what you want to do is, first of all, you want to find your photo. So basically you're going to take like a screenshot or a photo from your video, or you could also use the frame rate effect to create kind of that stop motion effect. So let's go ahead and just take this one, place this Post Malone photo. So all you're doing is just dragging it into the project right here, taking the transform tool, adjusting it right here. Now what you want to do is you want to disable this. Now you can have the background color whatever you want. So you can go to color fill right here, and let's change it to blue. So there you're going to have the color, the background is blue, and then we have Post Malone right here. click on the layer and then click on here, click on new empty layer. And basically what you're just doing is now you're using the paint tool to basically paint over it. But make sure you're not painting on the actual subject, paint on this like free layer right here. So go over and click over the paint tool, adjust whatever you want, the brush size, it's all dependent on you. And now what you're doing is you're basically using the subject as kind of like you're basically tracing the subject. So let's just do a quick one right here. So as you can see right here, actually I'll put a little more effort into it. So basically using the paint tool to kind of just draw around the subject right here. You can add as much detail as you want. So as you can see, some of the photos I did, I put more details, some of them I didn't. So basically just tracing, make sure you're on the layer, not on the actual subject. Now what you're going to do is now you want to disable the bottom layer right here. And as you can see right here, now unfortunately the colors match. Let's go to the background layer. We want to change the background to maybe something like green right here. Make sure you know the paint and the background don't match, and there it goes. You can see right here you have a really cool subject. Maybe you want to change it maybe to like a different color right here, so we can change it to like, actually I'll just leave it as a green right here. As you can see right here, now you have this really cool outline. You can change the background to whatever you want. Now let's go ahead and click on Command E to export it right here, and we'll just call this 001, click on export right there, and now you've successfully exported your photo, and now you can do whatever you want with it. So that's basically this really cool drawing effect in Pixelmator Pro. The next effect I want to go over is this really cool freeze frame zoom transition. Now this effect is actually going to require a plugin. You don't need a plugin, but I think the plugin is going to look a lot nicer. So what you're basically going to do first is you're basically going to adjust the anchor point. So figure out what you're going to actually do first before you start adjusting things. So basically I want the middle of the watch right here to drop down right here, which means I need the anchor point right here. So let's play. I'll go ahead and I'll zoom out right here. As you can see, the anchor point's right here. So all I'm doing right here is I'm just adjusting the anchor point. So I want the anchor point to be right about here. I want the watch to fall down right over here. So you can go ahead and adjust it to whatever you want. Now also you probably gonna want to scale it up a little bit. So 108, and then drag it right here, drag it right where you want it, and then just click on done. So now all I did right there was I had to reset the anchor point, go to the frame right here, pull over here, click on hold. You want to create a hold frame and not a freeze frame, because what's going to happen is it's going to reset the anchor point, and you do not want to reset the anchor point. Blade right here, click on it, Control D. We'll just do it like 1 second right here. So you want to make sure that you click on hold frame, not freeze frame, because you're going to reset the anchor point. So let's head over to the draw mask. And basically what you're doing now, you're just going to cut out whatever you want. In this case, we're cutting out the middle of the watch. So I'll zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is I'm cutting out here. So obviously it's important before you do all this to identify what you're going to try to do. I always like to, before I do an official mask, just kind of do a rough cut just to see if the effect actually works. So there we go. There's the cutout of the watch. All we're going to do right here is call an option, create a copy. Now I'm just going to invert the mask right here. And you can say, well, wait a minute, that didn't quite give me what I want. Basically, now what you want to do is you want to keyframe the watch. I'm going to click on it right here, go to position right here, place a keyframe. Now we'll go maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll go ahead a little bit right here, go as far as you want, take the position, and then drag the watch down right there. So you can go as far as you want. I'm just kind of going a little bit quicker. So if I play it right here, if I just play it, freezes, and you see the watch just drops down right there because we reset the anchor point. Now we can do that. Now what you're going to do is you're also going to download this plugin. Now again, you don't need this plugin, but I also want to use this video to go over this really cool plugin that people don't really talk about. It's a 3D camera. Now unfortunately, Final Cut doesn't really allow you to move stuff in 3D space. So no, it's not exactly like After Effects. You can't really move stuff in 3D space, but you can have a 3D camera which can be really useful. So just place it on top, and then I'll just give you a brief, basic understanding of how this plugin works. So it's really cool to be able to use to have a 3D camera. Now what I'm going to do is head over here to the camera mode. The start point is good. Don't mess with that. go to set endpoint. So you're basically setting the start point, setting the end point, and then you're setting the camera animation. And basically what we'll do, the camera animation will take the information from the start and end point to animate the camera. Now again, you won't be able to move stuff in 3D space, but you'll be able to have a 3D camera, which can be a little more helpful. And it's a little easier to use than just the Ken Burns effect. So let's head over here, and then I'm just going to zoom in right here. So I'll take the position over here. So you're basically just adjusting the position. You can adjust the rotation. So let's adjust the position right here. It definitely might get a little laggy because Final Cut's not used to a 3D camera. And as you can see right here, now we just set the endpoint. So just the position, the rotation, the zoom, or whatever you want. Again, you can see it definitely takes a little while to render. It's definitely a slower plugin, but it still works. So at the camera mode, once it's rendering, I wouldn't rush stuff just in case you don't want to freeze your program. Go to control mode. Now click on camera animation camera animation mode, and now it's going to animate the camera based on the information you inputted for the start point and the end point. So you can see right here, let's go ahead and play the video. So the middle of the watch drops down, and then as you can see, it just zooms right in. So it's able to create this really cool 3D camera animation. Now another little tip and trick that I would do is I'll go ahead, click on the camera animation. Make sure before you export the video, make sure you disable this picture-in-picture control, or else this will show up. So just disable this right here. Now I would also encourage you also to add motion blur. So I'm not going to add it because it will take a little while to render. What I want to do is I would highly encourage you to add motion blur, because basically it'll just help smooth out the animation. So motion blur right here, actually, never mind, I'll actually just put it on right here. I'll just do a minimal motion blur. So you want to add some motion blur. I'll make sure I always put the motion blur down in the description below. All that's going to do is just going to help smooth out the animation. Now minimal motion blur probably is enough, but I don't want to wait like 8 minutes for Final Cut to render. So what you want to do next is just select on all these clips right here, click on Option G, and we'll just call this camera right here. You want to create a compound clip, or else what's going to happen is a 3D camera is going to animate everything. You just want to animating this section of the video. So wait for Final Cut to render. Now what you want to do next is you can take this clip, place it below, or I can go ahead and just go right here, lift from storyline, place the clip, place it on top right here, take the gap clip, and then I'm just going to delete the gap clip right there. So wait for Final Cut to render, and this transition should work. So really cool transition. So if I play it, wait for Final Cut to render, let's play the clip right here, make sure it works. As you can see, freezes, drops down, and then zooms in. So it's a really nice, really cool transition. Obviously put a lot more time and effort into it. I just want to give you the basics of how to make that transition. Next effect I want to go over is this really cool Polaroid effect. Now go ahead and put the link to this really cool Polaroid overlay down in the description below. So you just want to place the Polaroid overlay on top of your clip right here, or on top of your photo, reposition that photo. So maybe I want to reposition it, something like this. I mean, overall I think that looks pretty good. So you just reposition your photo. It depends completely. It's completely dependent on your photo. You can crop it too, but what I found is actually just using the draw mask will make it a little bit easier. So if I just use a draw mask, and then I'll just cut out. Make sure you're selected on the photo layer, not on the Polaroid layer, and there you go. Now you have a really cool Polaroid effect. I'll go ahead also select right here, Option G, and we'll just call this, I honestly, Polaroid right here. Create a compound clip. Now you can move that entire compound clip. So you can see I can just scale it down and then move it wherever I want, and you can do whatever you want with this. I just want to show you this really cool Polaroid overlay effect. The next transition I'm going to go over is this really cool circle transition. Now I'm going to go ahead and just go over how to create it. Now I got kind of inspiration for this effect, but a lot of this effect was kind of me kind of creating it, but I did get a little bit of inspiration, so I can't give the entire credit to myself. What you want to do is head over here to shape mask. Just apply the shape mask onto the video right here. So just place it onto the video. Now what you want to do is you want to adjust everything. So go to feather 0. Let's change the curvature all the way up to 100%. And now what you want to do is you want to go to the radius right here and basically just adjust the radius. So make it as small or big as you possibly or as you want. And a little tip that I found is actually having the X and Y the exact same value will make sure the circle is like a perfect circle. So you can see, there we go. Now I've just created a really cool circle effect over the video right there. Next I'm going to do is head over here to invert, and I'm just going to invert the mask right here so it just has a cutout. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and freeze frame this clip, so Option F to create a freeze frame. So I'm just basically freeze framing it right here, and then Control D 20 frames. So let's zoom in, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to place that freeze frame, place it right on top of this clip right here. So this is what it looks like right here. Now what you're basically doing is you're animating it. So I'm going to use the Ken Burns effect. There's tons of other ways to do it, but all I'm doing is I want to zoom out. So let's flip the Ken Burns effect right here. Take the start, adjust the start, and you want to make sure the start is right inside that circle. So you want to make sure the circle is big enough, and then click on done. So basically what's going to happen is that's going to zoom out through this circle right here. So if I play it right here, it just zooms out. So it just zooms out through this circle. Now select this clip right here, head over to option and just create a copy. So you're just creating a copy. Now let's go ahead, head over here to invert mask, uncheck invert mask. Now I want to go ahead and set that. It completely depends on your clip, but in my case I'm going to set it to 46 frames. So I'm animating it for 46 frames. So it completely depends on what you want to do. So let's head over here to 50%, take the top one, take the y-axis, and let's drag the y-axis all the way down. And then all we're going to do is going to place a keyframe on the y-axis. So place a keyframe on the y-axis, and now I would animate it for like 30 frames. It's completely dependent on your clip. So we're going to go, I'll just animate like 30 frames. Again, it completely depends on what you want to do. So in this case, all I'm going to do is take the y-axis, and I'm just going to drag it all the way up there. So just place it right all the way up right here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to head over to one frame forward, place a marker, place another keyframe on position, go to the end of the clip, take the y-axis and drag it to 0, and you'll see what I'm trying to do in a second. It might, hopefully it's not too confusing. So basically you can see right here, it just slides up right here, stops right there, and then slides down and locks into place. Another thing I'll do too is now animate the rotation. Go to the beginning, place a keyframe on rotation, go to the end of the clip, and I would say maybe like negative 600 degrees. So let's go over here, negative 650 degrees. You want to go more than 360 because you want the thing that you spin. So go as the higher the number, the faster it's going to spin. So if I play it, it just spins on the frame right here. So zooms out and then spins right there. Now I'm going to place this clip on top, and then all I'm going to do is I'll make sure I want to copy the shape mask. So go to the bottom, Command C. All I'm doing is I'm just copying the shape mask. I don't want to copy any other attributes. So click on volume. All I'm doing is I'm going to animate or just copy the shape mask because I want the shape mask to match. Click on invert and then uncheck invert, and then as you see it has a cutout of Post Malone right there. Now what we'll do is we're going to animate it, or animate it so it zooms in, so it creates this really cool circle transition. So all I'll do is I'll wait for 10 frames. So all I'm doing is I'm going forward 10 frames, and now I'm going to head over here to transform, make sure on the clip, place a keyframe on scale, and now you can go ahead and advance 20-30 frames. So I'll advance something like this. Place a marker right here, take this scale, and then we're going to drag the scale right here. So you can go as as fast and slow as you want. It's completely dependent on your clip and depending on what you want to do. So zooms out right here, flies on right there. So zooms in, rotates, locks into place, and there you go. You have a really nice clean circle transition. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Also, you can add some motion blur too if you want to smooth the animation. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. It's definitely a more complicated effect, so hopefully everything made sense. Next effect I want to go over is this really cool rotating freeze frame effect. Now one thing that I found when I'm trying to make this effect is you want a photo of the subject. You don't want like a wide shot. A medium shot or a close-up shot is not really going to work. The first thing you want to do in order to do any of this stuff is you need to adjust the anchor point. So all I'm doing right here is I'm just going to basically adjust the anchor point. So let's change the scale to like 112 right here, and then all I'm going to do is now I'm just basically going to adjust the anchor point. So let's just adjust the anchor point something like this, and basically now you're just basically going to adjust the anchor point and just basically adjust it to your liking. So let's scroll down something like this. So let's scroll all the way down. Now I already have the number in my head, so it should be about like negative 500 around something like this should look pretty good. So basically you're just trying to center the anchor point. And now let's go ahead and take the clip and we're just going to drag it down. And basically, now this is definitely going to be a little bit of, trial and error. So you just basically need to mess with it until you get the look that you want. So all I'm doing is I'm just basically adjusting the anchor point. Now this may not be perfect, but you just basically do trial and error. Now basically what you're doing next is you're going to create a hold frame, again because you don't want to reset the anchor point. So click on hold frame right here, and of course we can adjust it a little bit here. So let's I'll go ahead and just undo it right here. So let's just Command Z, and I'm gonna go ahead and basically reposition it a little bit more. So as you can see, it's not really completely perfect. So let's just readjust it just a little bit right there. So that should look a little bit better. Now this, again, this might not be perfect. It's all about trial and error. Just you mess with it until you get what you want. So click on hold. So just going to hold the frame right here. And again, keep messing with it. A lot of it's going to be trial and error. Command B to blade it. Now let's click on here, Control D, 20 frames. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this on top, make sure it's perfectly lined up, and then let's take the rotation. And as you can see right there, yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's good enough. Again, keep messing with it until you get the look that you want. Head over here to Draw Mask, and I'll just do a quick cutout right here. Obviously, you don't put a lot more time and effort on the mask. But I just want to give you just the basics of how to create this transition. It definitely is not going to work for every single clip. So let's just do a really, obviously, put a lot more time and effort into that. Now basically what you're doing is now you're basically going to keyframe the rotation. So place a keyframe on rotation, go to the end, go back one frame, so you can actually see what you're doing. Take the rotation and then rotate it off right there. And there you go. You have a really cool kind of like rotating freeze frame. So if I see right here, it probably will go a little fast, but pops up on screen. As you can see, it just rotates off. And there's the basics of how to create that really cool transition. Again, anytime you're doing keyframing, you can also add some motion blur just to help smooth out the animation. The last effect I want to go over is this really cool light diffusion effect. So right over here, now this is also a plugin. This is a plugin from Motion VFX, and don't worry, it's completely free. So it's called M-Light Diffusion. I'll put the links to all this stuff in the description below. Place the diffusion and then just apply it to your clip. Now as you can see, you have a whole bunch of different adjustments. So I'll adjust it to like 1. So basically just go through, these are all the settings right here. You can basically just mess with it until you get the look that you want. So if I play it right here, it just creates this really cool light diffusion. It just looks really cool and makes your shot look a little more interesting. Obviously don't use this effect if there's no lights in your scene, or else it won't make any sense. But as you can see, there's a really cool light diffusion effect. So if you have a lot of lights in your scene, I would highly encourage you to use a light diffusion effect, because it can really just help make your scene, obviously you see that looks a lot cooler than the shot without the light diffusion effect. And that's pretty much it. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful and informative. If you're new to this channel, I upload Final Cut Pro 10 tutorials every week at 10 AM Eastern Standard Time. So if you enjoy these types of videos, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, I have a playlist with over 280 Final Cut Pro 10 tutorials. So if you want to watch more of these, types of videos, definitely go ahead and check out that playlist. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.